time ago, Steve and I came up this way and we found a cave and the ruins of an old asbestos building, which I think was probably related to the World War II ammunition dump that was out this way. And I've come back to have another look.
In 1942, there was huge concern amongst Australians that the Japanese would invade Australia. With this in mind, it became necessary to have safe storage facilities for ammunition. And in September 1942, it was decided to build an ammunition dump at Bruce Rock, at a small town called Ardith.
So here's the pile of asbestos that I think was part of a building. I mean, sure, it could be dumped here, but I don't know. It just there's too many other things around the area that make me think it's part of something that was here during World War II. And up on top of here is a bit of a cave.
Nearly 500 acres was resumed under the Securities Act of the time, and buildings were eventually constructed or prefabbed in Perth and then moved to site by Christmas 1942. Ammunition was railed to Ardith, but it was illegal to unload in the town, so a spur line was built out to the ammunition dump. Prisoners of war also worked at the camp in the later part of the war years, and it apparently became a bit of a social area for the locals.
The rocky outcrop over there at the edge of the field is where the water was captured for the camp. There's a contour bank around that. Unfortunately, the reserve is now private property. It's owned by a farm. There's also something over this side. So there's two parts to this ammunition dump, and there's one part that's over there. And I'll show you down on this fence exactly why I think this is a World War II area, and I think it's probably an entranceway. This is an old lid off a 20 litre drum. These bits fold over and hold it on. And this catch actually looks like it's part of a catch off an ammunition box. Flies are out in force. There's these two large fence posts. That been here for a long time, and the chicken wire is pretty old too. And this is what makes me think it was the entrance to into that ammunition dump that was over in that area there.
This photo shows the administration block, including the quartermaster's store and officers' mess. It is most likely some of these buildings that were transported from Perth. Amazingly, this camp included more than 50 sheds that were 12 metres by 12 metres, made of fibro and corrugated iron with earth floors. There were 30 other shelters, 5 sheds for high explosives, stables for up to 50 horses, kitchens and mess, quartermaster store, ablution facilities, administration building, which we've just seen. There were more than 250 tent accommodations, with 8 miles of road within the 2,000 acres of the actual site.
something definitely lives in there. You can see tracks. It's too dark to go in. It's the sort of place you send a younger brother into. This was once probably quite a deep cave, and it's all caved in here.
The wildflower season is well and truly over, but there's still some remnants of these mulla in the fields.
This is a nice specimen of a young sandalwood tree, and if we look down on the ground, there's even fruit. And that's a sandalwood nut. You can tell because it's the smooth one and not the brain-like one, which is the Kwangdong. A bit further up this fence, it's still the chickamaya and a lot of remnant wildflowers from this year's season, which was apparently pretty good. There's also a lot of spiders around too, and I'm a bit cautious of walking through trees because there's all these little Christmas spider things, money spiders, whatever we used to call them. Not only that, there's all web spiders, and I don't like them big ones. Alright, just riding around looking for evidence of this old military camp. Come across this big rocky outcrop, and it's quite steep here, and down the bottom the trees are quite different. And this is a very good indication that there's water there. Quite thick and dense in there too. Well, I've made my way up to the top of this rocky outcrop. I think it's Kirkinen Rock. And on top is a concrete base with these uprights. Not sure what it's used for. Possibly some sort of building because there's a lot of asbestos here. Though having said that, this would also be a really great place to have a comms tower. No writing on the on the concrete. It's pretty weathered, and the spacing in here is quite far apart. Looking for other evidence around here to see whether you can tell what it might have been. Quite a lot of rotten wood, other than the asbestos. And that's a piece of timber that's been cut, so it's at least 6 inches by 4. It may have fitted into that stuff. So on first glance it's hard to tell, but that's not a natural rock. That's a bit of poured concrete, and we have an anchor going up to that. So that definitely had some sort of tall structure on it. So if this one goes to there, there's probably one over there. Yep, I can see that. There's the other one. Concrete block going to that corner. Another one over there, and I bet there's another one over there as well.
Once I had found these first 2 concrete pads, I realised that they lined up perfectly with the corners of the building, and as I walked around I found the other two. Little did I know when I did a bit further research, this wasn't a comms tower, it was actually a watchtower. And it would have had a commanding view over the rest of the landscape around here. And really interesting, have a look at the bottom right hand corner. You can see a sawhorse there. That's interesting.
Pretty amazing to find this stuff. Riding around the top of this rock, and I've come across these two wooden things. Couldn't work out what they were to begin with, but these are old sawhorses. So that's how that goes. How amazing is that?
Is it possible these are the same sawhorses as in that old photo?
Makes you wonder how long they've been lying out here and who used them last. I'm just heading back from where the mast is, which was up on that rock out over there, and along the fence line I found two items that were quite old. Not really sure what they related to. But it's one galvanised iron bucket, really old style.
At the end of the war, the ammunition needed to be disposed of. Some of it was burnt on site, but the rest was put on trains and then railed to Albany, where it was dumped out to sea. Every now and again you read in the papers where an unexploded shell has been found off the wharf at Albany, and this is probably one that dropped and was too deep to go and get, and everybody thought it was just okay.
All this area here was part of the military base, and it extended through out to that rocky outcrop over there. So this is the remnants of the wildflower season, the yellow ones, and then the mulla. And the other thing that I've come across is an old fence line. And according to the map, this goes back to World War II, when the whole area was marked as a defence area. And theoretically it goes up there another couple hundred metres and then turns to the, I think it would be the east.
Here's some photos of the old diggers moving the ammunition around. These are quite large explosive devices that would have been used during World War II. These photos were taken in October 1943, and this was a while before the tide of the war had turned, and these were still going to be used against the Japanese. At the end of the war, the ammunition needed to be disposed of. Some of it was burnt on site, but the rest was put on trains and then railed to Albany, where it was dumped out to sea. Every now and again you read in the papers where an unexploded shell has been found off the wharf at Albany, and this is probably one that dropped and was too deep to go and get, and everybody thought it would be just okay. Meal times for any digger was pretty important, and I've included these photos to honour those men that served during World War II in this location. When I looked at some of the history of these guys, some of them were only 19 and others had joined in 1942 at the age of 30 odd. 30 was quite old to join the army in those days, but the threat from the Japanese was so high that many Australians enlisted almost immediately after the attacks on Pearl Harbor and Darwin. And as we approach Remembrance Day, we will remember them.